What's up guys, Fluky here. Today I've decided to do another basic GFX tutorial, and I'm going to do a tutorial on basic 2D Photoshop text to kind of try and make it look more professional and stuff like that. So as you can see, one of the most fundamental things I think to do with just having 2D text is the amount of fonts you have. And if you ever want to have some fonts, go on this website called defont.com. On this there are a ridiculous amount of fonts from all sorts of different places. As you can see, there are many different genres of font, and I always just pop onto new fonts every so often to check out what's there. And there's some really good fonts on here, so yeah, a good one to choose is that. And the font I'm going to use for this example is going to be called Typography Pro. Now the good thing about this font is that, as you can see, it's quite thin at the moment, but what you can do is change it. You can change it to, you got extra bold there, you got semi-bold, italic, semi-bold, you got light, italic, light, ultra light, and you know, all sorts basically. And that's why this is really good, because if you have like something like this, so you have Fluky there, and say, just for example, below you wanted us, I'm going to put my YouTube channel, so keep it all in capitals, like so, and then maybe put this in light and have it, of course, a lot smaller, like so. And maybe that just adds a little bit of extra effect to it. I think it just makes it a little bit better. So if we're just going to concentrate on the main text, there are lots of different things you can do to make it look quite professional. For example, a lot of people use gradients, and when you do this, there are different ways of doing it. So what you can do is you can click straight away on gradient. We'll have a black to white gradient going from bottom to top. And some people would just straight away, they just lower this down to about, if you look at this, about 20 opacity. As you can see, it looks quite nice, gives a nice sort of gradient effect. There are loads of different things you can do. You can change the angle, so you can make it go bottom white to the bottom, you can go sideways, or you can just, once again, make it go up to the top. Now another way of doing it is if you put it back up to 100, and then you can, well, this looks really good with orange, because if you use a deep red orange, like so, maybe a little bit darker, or maybe a little deeper, like so, and then at the top you use a more yellowy sort of orange, like that. Sometimes that looks really good. At the moment I don't think that looks that good. I think if you made the text orange, like a mid-orange like that, maybe a little bit darker, or redder rather, and then go on to the gradient, and then lower the opacity like that, that looks really good like that. And it sometimes it works well with different colours. If I just put a hue in here, you can have a look like that. See, that looks quite good on blue. Yeah, it's overall it's quite useful method of doing things. So of course, if you want to do other things, like put an outliner on the outside, that's really easy. You just use stroke, and as you can see, if you just bring it up, you can do however thick you want, like that. Another way of actually doing stroke your own way, so say if you wanted to put a texture on top of the stroke, which you can't do, is if you hold Control and click on the T here, as you can see, it brings up like the dotted, I don't know how to explain, the selected outline around the outside. Now if you want to put an outside outline on this, what you do is right click, you have to have one of the selecting tools out, which I think is that one, and that one. And then you go on to, you have to create a new layer, of course. If you go on to stroke, and then you select the amount of how big you want it to be, so I'm going to put it at 5 pixels. I'm going to put it outside the text. So you can put it inside, you can put it center, and you can put it outside, and you can also change the opacity and whatever. I'm just going to leave it like that. As you can see, you now have an outline like that. And say I have a texture, just for instance this one. I can now put that onto that, like that, see? And it can go around the outside. And of course, you can do the normal, and do something like that, and then create clipping mask, and then as you can see it goes over the top, which looks quite nice. Another thing you can do, of course, is, because there are many things you can do in here, honestly I actually don't know how I find out how to do these, but you can just mess around with them. For example, drop shadow you got as well. Well, I'm not even on the right thing. You can use drop shadow, And there are a lot of things you can do with this. Like, for instance, if you have a lot smaller, you don't want the distance to be that big. But this is quite big text, so maybe you want the distance between the shadow to be quite big. As you can see, you can change it quite a bit. Also, if you want to lower the opacity a bit as well. Honestly, it's just messing around with it, guys. I can't really say what you will like and what you won't like. So, yeah, literally just mess around with all these. Outer glow is really useful. I tend to use going to like that. So if you did an orange one, like that. One of the things with the outer glow is it is always on screen, so you want to change it to normal, like that. You can see that gives it a nice soft edge. Yeah, patterns, of course. You can download many patterns off the internet. I got quite a few, as you can see. You can just mess around with those, and sometimes they look really good if you also lower the opacity, and it gives like a little. It's sort of the same effect as having a texture overlay on it. And you can of course do that with you can select overlay like so. What else is there? Inner glow, of course, same as outer glow, sort of. Inner shadow, this kind of makes it like it's indented in. And you can make it look kind of 3D with Bravel and Emboss, like so. Yep. So, another thing the person asked me to do was talk about warping the text. And there's several different ways you can warp. There's one way you can warp text, and there's one way you can warp anything. So if you want to warp the text, as you can see, there's loads of different options for this. This may not be what you want, because you want to fit into a certain area. But if you look at it, you can use the arch like that, and to be honest, I don't think that looks that good, because, I don't know, sometimes it looks like it's overdone and it's stretched. So and then you can do stuff like that, you can make it, you can just go nuts with that, and there's loads of different ones as well, for warping. Like there's loads of different, like you can do fisheye, like that. And there's just loads, and honestly, it's the same as having all the things, you just have to mess around with it. So if you want to warp anything, you just make this into a normal object by clicking on it with a rubber or something, and making it into a normal object. As you can see, it's not editable as text anymore. To warp this, all you have to do is press Ctrl-T, and you can do this for any object as well. You want to warp, like so. And as you can see, this opens up sort of a grid area on the object. And say I wanted to make it bigger at both sides, all you have to do is click and drag the top corner, like so. I'm going to try and keep it as straight as possible, and I click and drag that one down too. Now, what you want to do is try and drag these as well, like that. And this kind of, it gives it sort of, also you can make it sort of like 3D. Because if you look at it like that, it kind of does look like it's going around a bend. So if you want to get out of this, of course, you press free transform. You can go like that, and it's back into free transform again. So you can mess around with this a lot as well. You can just see what you like, honestly. I can't really tell you what you like I said before, because you will like lots of different things, and can't really change that. So yeah, if there's any other tutorials you want me guys to do, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Skype if you know me, anything at all. Alright guys, see you guys soon. Bye.